So we're back on live. Sorry, everyone, for those technical mishaps, but third one's, what's the saying? Third one's the vencida. I don't know the saying in English.
Third time's a charm.
Exactly. Yes. All right, we're just gonna wait for Luz.
She's probably joining us in a few.
Perfect. All right, but while we wait for Luz, I think that we can give everybody who's already here a quick recap of what's happening. So my name is Valeria Rivera, and I work for Study in the USA. And basically, today we're doing a live session with ETS, so the makers of the GRE, and we're talking about why international students, or any students for that matter, should probably consider the GRE versus like other standardized tests for their higher education. I see that Luz has joined the
She said that she
live
requested to
session
join.
here. Okay, let me check. Oh, here it is. Okay. Should be joining us in quite a few seconds.
I'm trying to stabilize my phone here.
All right. Well, Lucy, if you can hear us, I sent you the invite. Um, I don't know if you can see it on your side. Okay, so I'm getting a notification saying that she's unable to join. Um, okay, so let's start the live session, and hopefully you can join us in quite a few minutes. So, all right, so going off of where we left off, we have a couple of amazing guests that have joined us today to talk about their experience with the GRE and how it has helped them with higher education. Starting off, we have Juliana Pereira. So she's a PhD student at the Geotechnical Engineering at Purdue University. And we also have with us Alexia R. Hunt, and she's an MS graduate of clinical research professional. So unfortunately, Luz Maria Guedo Urrego isn't able to join us right now, but hopefully she'll be able to join us in just a few seconds. But she's also a PhD student in civil engineering at Purdue, specializing in computational modeling. So just as a recap, for everyone watching right now, the GRE is accepted across thousands of programs from engineering to business to healthcare, and it is generally known as a very flexible standardized test. It gives you more pathways and more chances, and it also is friendlier and more approachable, especially for international students. So overall, it's really ideal for students who want to keep their options open, right? Each of our guests today have or chose the GRE for their graduate studies. And today they'll be sharing, real experiences, prep strategies, and how the GRE opened doors to competitive graduate programs in the US. But my first question that I have for you is actually for the audience. So before we dive in, I would love to know from everyone watching which graduate field you're thinking about applying to. Is it an engineering degree? Is it an MBA, public health, data science? Drop it in the comments. Would love to read it.
Just to let you know, Luzma messaged me and she said that she asked to join the session, but I think you need to approve or something.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah, I
know.
see it.
I don't know what she's seeing and I don't know what you're seeing, but she just messaged me here.
Yeah, I keep getting a notification saying that she's unable to join. I just accepted the request though on her end, so hopefully it's only
Hopefully
a few seconds.
she can join us.
Yeah, so, but anyway, Um, all right, so just to give a couple minutes for her to join, I would love to hear from the guests that we have here right now. Just a brief introduction to each for everyone watching, where you're from, what are you studying, a little bit about your academic journey so far. So, who wants to kick us off?
Go, Alexia.
Okay. Hi, I'm Alexia Hunt, and I got my Master's of Science from Drexel University in 2022, and I studied clinical research organization and management. And I did my master's entirely remote. Drexel has incredible options for that, but I took my GRE in 2018, and I did it in person at a local university to me in Pennsylvania.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Well, my name is Juliana Pereira, and I did my PhD. Actually, I'm doing my PhD in civil engineering at Purdue University. I'm originally from Brazil, so I did two bachelors before coming to Purdue, a bachelor in journalism, a bachelor in civil engineering. I had the opportunity to study in Canada, then I went to Netherlands, and I also studied in Spain, and then I came to Purdue University for my master's in civil engineering, and I follow up with my PhD that I'm still here, almost there with the final end of the PhD. And my research focus is actually on the moon. So I'm working on the seismic stability of lunar lava tubes. And lava tubes are basically rock structures that exist on Earth, on the moon, and on Mars. And that's actually why I'm studying them, because as Purdue University is the cradle of astronauts, so we are related to a lot of things that NASA has interest, and that's exactly where my research is focused.
Wow, that's really cool. Congrats on almost getting your PhD. That sounds awesome. And so, the last question that I have for all of our guests right now is, before beginning your graduate journey, what excited you the most and what made you feel a little bit nervous?
For me, I feel as though I am not the best test taker. I have always had, test anxiety, and I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. I could study like all day, all night, and just go and not do very well on tests. And for me, having the flexibility of being able to study as much as I want and give myself a timeline that I feel comfortable with while also scheduling the GRE at a further date was really flexible. And you can take it practically at any really, local university. I live in a pretty rural area, and I think I maybe traveled 30 minutes for my GRE. But like I said, there's like a lot of different ways that you can prep for this. But also, when I took it in 2018, I did not have the opportunity to have the test taken at home. So now I think probably after COVID, they've given people the opportunity to take it at home with a proctor. So I think that just even more makes it accessible.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. What about you, Juliana?
Yes, for me it was kind of like a no-brainer. I needed like scholarships to be able to study abroad. And hey,
Oh, hey, Liz.
thanks for joining. I was just talking about like how the GRE affected and why I choose to take the GRE. I don't know if we should let Luzma introduce herself before I go on the GRE talk.
Yeah. Yeah, Luz, what about your brief introduction and if you can like briefly tell us what,
Yeah.
excited you the most about graduate school and what made you nervous?
Hello, everybody. Again, so my name is Luz Maria, and I'm also doing my PhD in civil engineering here at Purdue University. I took the GRE 2016, so I was very excited about doing grad school. So that was the most exciting part, and I think the GRE is one of the required steps. And I was obviously nervous about the test. I guess that's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's super fair. All right. So like, how about we just like jump into the GRE focused questions? So, piggybacking off of, what Luz was saying, did you did any of you like consider any other exams, and what made you choose a GRE over the competitors?
Well, I can say as I was sorry as because I was just saying, for me the GRE was a no-brainer. It has to be the GRE because the GRE is the most accepted in multiple universities, and I was looking for a scholarship to study abroad, and I knew that having a good grade on the GRE would make my application stronger. So for me, I confess that I didn't even check other exams because I knew the GRE was the most accepted. So I was like, I have to do it. That's the way I want to study abroad, and for me it was a no brainer. I knew a GRE score would help me to get the scholarship.
No, totally. I'm curious if any of you guys had flexibility in mind when choosing the GRE.
So I'm gonna I didn't say I'm from Medellin, Colombia, and so it was like pretty much the only option. So the availability of the GRE, I think we had two options. It was the GRE to get accepted at Purdue. You had two options, and I don't remember the name of the other one, but the GRE was the only one being provided in Medellin. So it's like, well, you don't have a lot of options, and well, the maybe the other one had maybe there was an option for the other one, but the GRE had two sessions of the exam. So at least you had 2 days to take the exam. So it was more available. And then, it has a price too for the exam. So it was like also financially, the best choice was the GRE. So availability and price wise, that's why. So I didn't have a lot of flexibility taking it either. It was like kind of that's the choice.
Totally. No, totally. I
Yeah.
relate to that also as an international student. And I'm curious to hear about Alexia next, because I know that you mentioned how you struggle with test taking in general. And so when you first started prepping for the GRE, what about it, what about its format felt a little bit more approachable or maybe like manageable?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to take the GRE or the MCAT, and as you guys know, the MCAT is for medical school, and that was very intimidating. I feel like it's very intimidating for anybody in the pre-medical field, and I just didn't feel like that I was ready. I did not think that I was ready for that, and so I chose the GRE just because I wanted to open the doors to other possibilities. Maybe I don't want to go to med school. Maybe I need a little bit more time to figure out what I want to do. And my prepping, I got the Baron. So I got the Baron books, and I just did everything pen and paper. I'm a millennial, so I chose pen and paper over anything else. And things that you can do with these books is you can look through the index and go through each, like you got the mathematical review, the arithmetic, the algebra, the geometry, and if you need a refresher, you can use YouTube. So I mean, I took up to calculus 1, but that's not necessary for all GRE requirements for, a particular PhD or master's program. Like, you don't have to take all the way up to calculus. And for me, math was really hard for me. So getting the refreshers, getting some practice in pen and paper, my calculator, like the proper calculator, all the things, because I squashed the math in my first 2 years of undergrad, and I definitely needed to review all of it. So you'll be surprised how much is still there after the fact. You'll be like, oh, I remember this now.
Totally. What about the rest of you guys? Do you have, any like when you first started prepping, do you remember like what about the format like stood out?
Oh well, I'm like Alexia. I like pen and paper. Probably a millennial too. So I remember I love post-its. As you can see, I have all of them all around. And for me, as an engineer, the math part was the easiest one. for me, the most complex was the new vocab. And by the time that I took my GRE, my English was not as good as is today. So I remember having a lot of issues with a lot of words that I didn't know the meaning. So for me, it was post-it notes. I remember in my bathroom, I have like post-its all around my mirror. So every time that I was like brushing my teeth, I was checking my words. So for me, that was a strategy that I still use nowadays whenever I need to remember something. So I have like a little boards all over my office, and I spread words, and I still use that strategy a lot.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting to hear about how everybody prepares for the test because everybody has their own, toolkit as to like how they study and how just they keep the information, right? Um, but yeah, I mean, like just talking about that, Luz, like how did you prepare for the GRE? Are there any particular tools or habits
Well,
or like even routines that you used?
yeah. So I had so for this for the sections, I think we are engineers, so Julian and I. So obviously the quantitative section was the easiest one, but I think the first thing I did was I took the test, right, like a preparation test, to evaluate what the level I was, what section was harder for me. So I took the test and then I focused on the sessions that were harder first and retook the test until to see the scores. So that was like a kind of 1 hour every day kind of preparation, and took the test every week, I guess, for a month until the scores I got were like what I wanted. And so that was my routine. So, but basically I focus on the test, just doing the test until the scores were higher and I feel confident. And
Mhm.
with good prep, I mean, I know exams are stressful, but I think with good preparation, you're going to be ready for this exam. Because there is like all of the tools, like everything related to the exam is in the books. So if you prep, you're going to do great in the exam.
Totally. And I do want to take some steps back a little bit because I'm thinking that some of our audience probably have not decided if that they want the GRE. They're still in that decision stage of like which test do I take. So when you guys compared the GRE to other exams, what were the biggest designing factors for you?
For me, I think I felt a little bit more comfortable with the GRE because I had taken the TOEFL test before,
Mm,
and I know they are pretty similar, like in the way, the timing. So I felt a little bit more comfortable because I took the TOEFL test. As I told you, I lived in other countries before, and I had to take the TOEFL test multiple times because it expires after a couple years. So I took the TOEFL test multiple times, and I knew the GRE is kind of like on the similar pattern of the
mm,
TOEFL. So that's why I felt a little bit more comfortable with, because I already knew what to expect. So for me, that was a decision making point.
mm. What about for the rest of you?
So I took the GRE just basically because, it covers like a multitude of different, you know, master's and PhD programs. And some of the master's programs that I was looking into didn't even require the GRE. So, having the test, it opens more doors for me in the aspects of like requirements.
Mm.
I feel scholarship also, to have a good score to show, it gives you a upper hand on scholarship applications.
Totally, yeah. What about for Juliana and Luz specifically? So many international students find that the GRE verbal and quantitative sections are a little bit more approachable. And so, Juliana, you said how it's similar to the TOEFL exam. So, was that true for you when you're taking the exam? Did you see those similarities?
I saw some similarities on the process of the TOEFL
Mm,
and the theory, so I kind of like knew how the questions, the timing, how to answer through the computer. Uh, so that was like similar for me, and
mm,
because I took the TOEFL multiple times, it wasn't a big deal. I knew how to do it. But I confess, as Luzma said, we're both engineers. I had hard time with the language session. I think like the math for me, it's easy because my mom always says you don't have to study math. Math is just logic, right?
Yeah.
So there's less memorization. And for the new words, for me, is the opposite. Like I have to memorize those new words. So that's why I have a hard time like memorizing all those more complex words in English that I didn't know that time.
Mm.
Yeah, I
What about
definitely
for you?
agree. Yeah, the verbal and the quantitative are, yeah, so they were more structured, I guess. Quantitative, while the writing section is the analytical section. It's a little bit more open-ended, and we're new to English too. Like at that time, we were just. I mean, I guess my English was not as good that day, and the fact that you have to write in an exam in English, that was really hard. But yeah.
Totally. What about if anyone watching this is still a little bit unsure on which exam to take? Is there anything in particular that comes to mind that you would tell them to help them feel a little bit more confident going for the GRE?
I think I'm gonna repeat what Juliana said. So the TOEFL and the GRE are very similar structure-wise. Obviously, they're completely different exams. One is an English exam, and the other one is like one that measure your skills. So, but the structure, I mean, the way you take the exam is very similar. So, taking one helps you taking the other. So, that will be one of the reasons I will decide to take the GRE, because you're already practicing the structure while taking the TOEFL.
My suggestion is, like I showed, like the book, the Barron's GRE. I cannot speak more highly of it. They have practice tests in it. They have the paper test, and then they give you a code to practice the actual format on the computer. So those tests are free when you buy the books. So, yeah, I mean, it was very beneficial. I did not use any other study materials besides Barron's and YouTube. So, and I did good. So,
Yes,
That's
and
awesome.
for me, I would say everybody gets nervous with a big test coming. I think that's human being, that's normal. But I think it's also the first step if you're thinking about advancing your career, going to grad school. You have to be able to handle those exams, right? Because you're going to have a lot of those during grad school. You're going to have exams for your classes. You're going to have presentations for your projects, for your research, for your thesis, right? So I think it's also a practice way of getting into grad school. And I think if you can demonstrate that you can do good on those exams, you're going to be a good graduate student, right? So
Totally.
I think sometimes you have to face your fears, and then you see that it's not that a big monster. For sure, I think we all here were super scared of the exam, but we all did it, and you can do it too. uh, it's just another exam, and you've been training for exams during your whole life in school, right? So just face your fears and go for it. Is not that scary.
Totally. I think that sometimes we play things up in our head and we make
Mhm.
it a big monster, like you said, when in reality we get to the thing and it's like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And so going off of that, did you guys think it would be harder than it actually was? Like what it was like to actually take the exam, be like, okay, like demystifying what the GRE is and what it's like to take it.
I remember walking in there and I was so nervous, so nervous that I almost started crying. And when I actually sat down and was doing the test, and there were probably at least 20 people, and we're all separated by these cubicles, and it was very kind of off-putting because we're all in the same room. Um, and I just remember sitting down and I'm like, okay, like I know what I'm doing. Like it's confidence. Like I know what I'm doing. I have studied this. I look at it. It looks familiar because it's exactly what I've been studying. And you just do it, and
Exactly.
it's just, it's it's reassuring knowing that you can get a hold of these study materials and knowing that you take a lot away from your undergraduate education to further yourself. So
Yes.
yeah.
So the confidence in yourself, the confidence that you did the preparation. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like the nervousness is still there, but they're reassuring that you did the work and now you're gonna do it. How long did you guys actually study for the GRE for you to feel that sense of confidence in yourself?
Well, for me it was I had a time constraint, so I was applying for everything, and I had a month to prepare for the
Oh wow.
TOEFL and the GRE. So I had to just focus that month.
Yeah.
So it took me a month because I had just a month. But I think if I had more time, I will use at least 2 months to prepare. But yeah, like you definitely, if you prepare, you will feel. I think one of the things that were or made me nervous the most was like the use of the computer. I was like, I don't want to click the wrong thing and then mess the whole exam. So I took the practice test several times to make sure I knew how to everything. And when I took the exam, it was very easy. You know, it's definitely scary. You're in a corner, in a cubicule, separated from the rest, and somebody's watching you. So it's a little bit scary, but like you have the confidence that you are well prepared and that you know how the system works. It's easier than when you think it is. So once you get to it and you start clicking and you see nothing is going wrong, then you feel better.
Totally. What about the rest of you guys? How long did it take to study and how like what would be your ideal suggestion for people?
Okay, I think I was a bit overconfident, to be sincere.
Mm.
I was like, okay, I already did the GRE. It's just another exam. Let's do it. So
Mm.
I didn't study at all. I think I just checked the material for like 2, 3 days and took the exam. And then I
Oh
didn't got it
wow.
that I want. uh, so I was like, okay, have words that I didn't know the meaning. And, so I was like, okay, I have to study a little bit more. And the good thing about the GRE is that you can take it again. So uh,
Yes.
I repeat the test. I did a second time, but then, as Luzma said, I had also a time constraint because of the applications. So
Mm.
my recommendation is start your grad school application. Check the websites. Check the universities that you want to go at least like 6 months ahead of time. So you know the timeline and you don't let things for the last minute, because like Luzma, I had a month to prepare. For sure, I think I tried to go without preparation and was not good. I didn't got the grade that I was expecting, and I had to do the exam again. So for sure, you need some preparation. You need to understand how the exam works. It is pretty similar to TOEFL, but it's gonna require your knowledge. It's not just English. So you need to know the language. You need to know uh, basics of logic and math. Um, so it's necessary for you to have some type of preparation. And prepare with advance, because the more time you have, the better. Especially like for me, I was working a full-time job as well, so I only have like evenings and weekends to prepare, so
Mm.
that makes more time constraint. So if you're thinking about grad school, start searching for the universities requirements and everything with a lot of time in advance, so you have plenty of time to prepare for those exams and you go without the stress, because I think you're stressed when you're not prepared. When you're prepared,
Totally.
you have more confidence, and then it's easy.
Totally. I'm curious if there's any like resources or strategies that any of you guys had. I mean, Alexia, I know that you mentioned that resource that you used, but are there any particular strategies that really helped you? Because I know with especially time management, for example, people are busy, they're doing a million things at once. And so, yeah, what was the most helpful for you? Alexia, do you want to start us off?
So I really just took things like as the index, like the contents, like just picking out things that I want to get refreshed on. I didn't spend a lot of time on the English or anything like that. I spent a lot of time on the math. Like I said, you guys are engineers, so I was not. So it was the math is difficult for some people, and I'm one of them. But just picking apart the math and doing that, and then seeing like what I got wrong and then going back and like figuring out the answer. You know, it's like I do a section and then I go back to whatever I got wrong, you know, with the paper practice tests. But also I took it while I was still in undergrad, so I was still going to school full time, so I had like the full load of classes. So um I took like 6 months. I did take like a while. I don't think that that's a while. I think that's like proper. I don't know. But I took 6 months. I would study all weekend, you know, the days that I didn't have classes or in between classes, I would study. And yeah, I really wish one thing, because I only took it once. I wish the only thing that I wish I would have um studied and practiced a little bit more was the essay.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
totally.
I have, so I'm gonna say that, well, the price of the GRE and the TOEFL, and you have to pay in dollars, you know. I'm from Colombia, so I have Colombian pesos. So when I knew I had to take both of the texts, and all of them are expensive, really expensive, I'm like, you know, the thing you only can take it once. For me, it was like, you take it once, that's it. Good luck. So after paying for the exam, like, I don't have money to pay for the book. Like, how much? This is too much. So in my case, I had to look a lot of online resources, GRE resources. So I was lucky I found some tests online. I think they're free tests online. So I focus on those. So I prep with the test and the online content. And I think I had a GRE from the library. I borrowed a GRE book from the library, and then I used the book and the free online test, and those were very, very helpful. Same for the TOEFL. I think I borrowed a book for the TOEFL and used the free test online. And that was like really, really helpful. But yeah, I didn't have the luxury of taking it more than once, even though I would love to have that option, because like sometimes you definitely need it. But yeah.
Luz, but I think that you bring up like a really important point, which is especially with international students and that currency conversion, right? Many people will feel that pressure to get the perfect score on the first tape because that's the one that they have. And so, you know, we heard from Alexia with the quantitative section, but with the English and vocabulary, since you mentioned, were was your struggle area. Are there any particular strategies that you used to make sure that that first take was the one?
Yeah, well, prep for the sections that I were not, you know, it was harder for me, the analytical section, and you know, the verbal section. Both of them were harder for me than the quantitative, so I focused on those when I was studying. And as I say, I keep I took the test several times to see if I was improving or not. So that was like
Mhm.
really important. Yeah, just keep evaluating myself every time I study until I got it. And then
Totally.
yeah, the pre-tests are very similar to the exam. I mean, obviously different content, but like if you get a score in the practice test, then you will get a similar score in the exam. So those are a very good measure of your abilities, and that will give you a lot of confidence to do
Mm.
the practice test.
Yeah. Juliana, what about yourself? What was your strategy to study for the English and vocab?
Yes, as for me, I mentioned, I remembered like the writing part was also a struggle with timing. So I remember myself putting a like alarm clock or something and practice the writing on the time. I think that the time constraint is the part that was the harder for me. But also just for people, I remember of me like, oh, I don't want to pay now, but once you pay, you have access to some free resources on the website.
Mm.
So even if you schedule in like further distance your exam or something, there's always some after you pay for your exam, you have like some free resources on the GRE website that you can have access. And I remember using those to study.
Mm.
Uh, and for sure, I was able to pay a second test because I was already working as an engineer full time. but that's also complex because then you have less time. But I remember that I had to put on like schedules my hours, so to every single day I have like evenings that I was studying, and I had like to block my calendars, like, no, I'm not gonna work overtime on my job because I have to study for this exam.
Mm. Yeah, so setting those boundaries.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about, how should students set a realistic score goal for their field? Do you guys have like particular advice with that?
I was shooting for 160 or above. I just kind of put like whatever the universities I was interested in, I looked at like what requirements, and then sometimes they have like minimum score of this. Not all of them have that because there's like special circumstances, right? So I definitely made it my goal, but I did not hit that 160. I got a little bit below that, but it was not deterrent of me applying to those schools, that did have those scores posted. So even if you don't hit that score exactly, submit it. So like best case scenario you get in, but like, if you're hesitant, you can always take it again. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
And you never know until you try. So, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, for me, was to also the requirement of the school was my goal. Like, just get to that, the minimum. That was my goal, and I think I got a point more. That's it. But yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
And I think it's also important to check where do you want to send it. Like, for example, um, Luzma and I were engineers, so the expectations of having a high score in the quantitative area is more than if you go for a different. So I was always trying to get like better scores in the math area, even though I need at least the minimum in the writing part, because they have like high expectations on our math skills. So I think that's also important to evaluate, like, where do you want to send your scores? So what's the expectation of them for you, right? So the universities always put, even though Purdue nowadays is for a civil engineer, I don't think it's mandatory anymore. When Luzma and I applied, it was, right, Luzma? But
Yes.
it's not mandatory anymore. But I think it's good if you're looking for scholarships.
Hmm. Totally. So that leads me to my next question, actually. Juliana, you said you purposely took the GRE also for that scholarship component, like receiving them. How do you think your GRE score actually strengthened your application, and opened the doors to specific programs, or in this case, the scholarship opportunities?
Well, I got a full ride, 4 years paid scholarship from the Brazilian government that time,
Mm.
and it was a requirement. And if I didn't reach the minimum points that they required, for sure they will not consider my application for scholarship. So it was a no-brainer.
There
uh,
you go.
I needed. There was the only way for me to do my studies abroad, so I needed the scholarship. So
Yeah,
let's go for the GRE.
totally. What about the rest of you guys? How do you think the GRE score strengthened your application?
I think that it just shows discipline. I think that it is a very good indicator of I took a lot away from my undergraduate education, and I'm going to show you that I am, because I've shown you that I can, have this education that I can be proud of, and it reflects on the GRE.
Mm. Right. So during the application process specifically, what were your biggest challenges and how did the GRE help you feel a little bit more prepared for that?
For me, I think the confidence, because just moving abroad for a different country, new language, new everything, once you get the grades that you're expecting on GRE and you have like all those fear about those big exams, this kind of give you the confidence, like, if I did that, I can do a grad school too, you know. So if I achieve my goals on getting a enough grade for my GRE and I was approved, I was accepted in the university, and once they accepted you, they are believing that you can do it, right?
Mm.
So it also gives you the confidence that you can move to a different country with a total new language, and you can do those exams and you can get those hard classes and you're gonna be successful. So I think the first step to like getting this courage to do those exams is a good preparation for grad school and gives you that confidence that you can succeed.
Hmm. I like that. Okay, what about, let's go a little bit more aspirational. So for everybody like dreaming about their graduate studies, I am curious if you could tell us about like what your typical day looks like now in your graduate program, or if you're not in grad school anymore, on your professional life.
So I work for the university as a teaching assistant. So I have like two full-time jobs. So 3 days of the week I have to work on my teaching assistant work, full 3 full days, and then that's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then I go home and keep doing my research because somebody has to graduate. And then Tuesday and Thursday, I focus on my research and I have group meetings with my advisor. So all those days, Tuesday and Thursday, I spend all the day in meetings in the lab. Most of my work is computational, but we do have a couple experiments. So we do go to the lab and set up the experiments or take measurements. So it's like very quick, but then we have to do that. But like I'm lucky enough, my advisor meets with me twice a week, so that's pretty good. But yeah, and then Saturdays you have to keep working. I take half of a day on Sundays, but then that's kind of how it looks like.
That's a good
So
one.
I do cancer research remotely. I graduated with my master's in 2022, which I mentioned earlier. But you know, I still have a door open for a PhD program, and I still have not decided. So even if you want to take the GRE, you can go get a master's, and then you don't have to decide on a PhD program right away. You know, if you want to get like a broader MS or MA, you can hold on to that and use that in an application for a PhD program. Even then, though, I think you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Most PhD programs would require a GRE, but if you already have a Master's of Science or a Master's of Arts, it's not always the case. But it really depends on like what you've studied in your master's degree that's going to transfer in. So you actually have to kind of figure out the equivalences, and most of the time the university will do that for you. But I work completely remote, and I do cancer research, and I've been doing that for about 3 to 4 years now. And I do a lot of writing and lots and lots of Zoom meetings. But I work with the FDA very closely as well, in certain audits and audits within the university that I work for. So it's very rewarding at the end of the day, just knowing that clinical trials within cancer are really up and coming, and it's a very fulfilling career. And this is exactly what I wanted to get into.
Mm.
Yes, for me, well, this semester I'm not teaching, like Luzma said. Usually I'm teaching, but this semester I think is the first one that I'm not teaching. So it's actually really nice because I have more time for my research. So I'm trying to get all the details of my research. So I can work from home or I can work from the university. Sometimes I have to run numerical models, and we have like so supercomputers in the lab. So I work in the lab on those computers. Sometimes when I just need to analyze the data or write, I can work from home. So it's pretty flexible, but that doesn't mean that I do not work. I think it's flexible in the other way. It's flexible in the way that we work 24/7. And then it's like, oh, you can work from home. You can work on a Sunday, so, but it's different because we say work, but on the same time is our education. So it's our own interest to get things done, and I think that's why PhDs students is kind of like we work on weekends, we work on evenings, but the sooner we get the research done, the better for us. So that's why we focus so much on our work, on our research. So for this semester is the first time that I'm fully focused on my research. So I have this more flexibility. But before I was like Luzma, I had days that I had to teach, so I had to be in the university teaching, prepping slides, prepping classes, correcting homework from the students, correcting exams, grading everything. I work in also different projects in the university. I work for the Women Engineering project before, so we did like outreach events with kids, and that was really fun. I was like helping the college students to do engineering activities for kids, and it was really fun. So we could like inspire the new generation of women to think that engineering is fun and engineering is cool. So why you don't want to be an engineer as well? And I really like that job. So I had like multiple hats inside the university, depends on the time of the PhD. And that's a little bit of the difference between a master's and a PhD. The master's is kind of like, I feel it is more structured. You have your classes. Sometimes you have a little bit of research. But the PhD is more flexible, but on the same time is more unpredictable. Sometimes you need to do a physical experiment in the lab and the equipment break, and then you need to wait for a piece of equipment come from whatever, from Europe or a different country, and takes months. So you have to pivot to a different experiment. So it has more challenges, I would say, that sometimes you cannot control. What I think it's a little bit less in the master's degree, because the research is small, so things are more like, especially the time frame is a little bit more predictable.
Okay, so last question before we move on to the audience questions, because I do want to address some of those. What's a piece of advice you would give students who feel intimidated by standardized tests? The first thing that comes to mind.
Prepare, get prepared for the exam. That would be and time management. Time management is very important. I think grad school is like way more important. And then taking the GRE and having good scores will show that you're also good in time management and preparation. So I would say time management and prepare for the exam.
I would totally agree with that.
Yeah, there's nothing to disagree with that. But I would add, try to be confident. Sometimes I feel, as I work with women engineering, I know that at least me and a lot of women, sometimes we don't believe in ourselves. We always think that we're performing less than we actually are. So give that little step of faith, and go for it. Trust it. And sometimes, like me, even if you don't get the best grade on the first time, do it again.
Yep.
Do it again, and just don't give up on your dreams, because I'm thankfully for my opportunity to be here in United States right now doing my PhD. I'm learning a lot. And if it wasn't for that little first step that was to take in the GRE, I wouldn't get the scholarship and I wouldn't be here. So
I love that. All right. So before we move on to the audience questions, I want to know if there's anyone watching right now that is thinking about taking the GRE. Drop the comments on the section. I'd love to see like who we have influenced today. And if you have any questions, just the last few seconds for you to ask away. But I really want to address this question by Carla Morales. She asks, would you recommend taking the GRE even if you're not 100% sure about grad school yet? Who wants to take this off?
I will say no, because you have to pay, I don't know, exam is like, I don't know how much it is, $300. You should start getting prepared, look for books, getting resources, but maybe don't take it until you're ready to take that decision. But yeah, you can start getting, preparing yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely know that you want to take it first, and you got to get the study materials if you want to be really, really, really successful with it. I mean, um, but and then scheduling it. So you have to like go ahead, make an account, schedule it, pay that. It is an investment.
Mm.
Yes, it is an investment of time and commitment. But if you're unsure about grad school, I would say come. Come
Just
for
be
grad
sure.
school. I think it's an easy process if you're looking to advance in your career, if you're looking for international opportunities, if you're looking to expand the possibilities that life can offer for you. I think grad school is a great opportunity. Uh, but I agree with the girls. If you don't want to come to grow to, especially because I know like the TOEFL, the GRE also has a time. So if you take the GRE, it I know it has a couple years, so it's a long time. But still, you
Yeah.
may need to retake it, and that will be just a waste of time and money.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a good thing to mention. It does expire. It expires after 5 years. And even when I logged in to kind of prep for this live, I actually logged in and I can't see anything anymore because I took it in 2018. So it all disappeared. So be conscious about when you take it and when you're going to be applying for schools because it's only good for so long.
Yes.
Mm. Okay, so the next question that we have, and this will be the last one, unfortunately, due to time, but the Julie Rebecca asks, did you feel that the GRE helped you feel more prepared to handle the courses/programs that you're in?
Definitely. I remember once calling my mom, like, Mom, I don't know what I'm doing. Those classes are so hard. I don't have the background 100% like students for other countries. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And then my mom said, like, remember when you felt overwhelmed about the GRE too? And it was a big exam that you took, and then you succeed at the end. So for sure, passing the GRE, getting a good grade, give me that little confidence that I can do grad school. So
Mm.
it's a good feeling.
Totally. And I can
Yeah.
imagine once you're like out of school, studying again for the GRE gets you back in that mindset, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
I agree to that. Like not being a non-English speaker, like when you get to grad school, all of your exams are in English, obviously. And like yeah, so your first exams in English for me was the GRE and the TOEFL were my first exams in English. So definitely having at least that before coming to grad school and having all of your everything in English is a big practice. Yeah, it helps a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the GRE didn't necessarily prep me for my, master's program in a way because I, got that math overview and then I had to take math in my master's program. And that wasn't like too bad, but otherwise, I think that like I don't know if this is true for you guys, but I feel like my master's program was a lot easier than undergrad because, you're going into a specialty, you're going into a particular program that you are really interested in, right? So I think that like you become a little bit more motivated to do well because you really enjoy this, We all took courses in undergrad that we didn't want to take. So at this point, like, going through the masters, like I can't tell you one class that I didn't enjoy besides the math. But I mean, it's, did it prep me? I guess kind of in a way, but not really. I mean, it just shows you, like I said previously, the GRE is a test that wants to know what you already know. It's what knowledge and what skills that you are bringing to the table for graduate school.
Mm.
hmm
Well, unfortunately, we have run out of time. So, Juliana, Alexia, and Luz, thank you so much for everything that you shared with us today. It was like super helpful. I haven't taken the GRE and like I've learned so much. But yeah, thank you for sharing your honest and inspiring insights. Your experiences highlight exactly what the GRE is, the smarter, more flexible path for today's graduate school applicants. So yeah, thank you. And for everyone watching, if you're planning your graduate journey, just remember that the GRE keeps your options open. It's accepted across thousands of programs, and that includes MBAs, engineering, healthcare, sciences, humanities, etc. And, most importantly, it's friendly, it's approachable, it's designed to reflect your strengths. So if you're exploring graduate study in the US, or if you're still deciding what admission test is right for you, be sure to visit ets.org/GRE and explore the many resources available. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you at the next live session. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you.